And welcome to the V Respawn interview. Streamer extraordinaire and Leftovers player Proper D, and his team leader VTech, the recent winners of the Summer Contractors Championships. So those were some pretty difficult matches. Those last ones were really intense to watch. I really liked the casting. You guys were against the Assassins, right?
It was, yeah. It was tough. There's a lot of really good teams in it. Felt incredible at the end of it. We had some really tough matches there. I think was it Imposters? They put up pretty good fight in that round robin, and then Danglers, obviously, that semifinals put up quite a fight too.
Yeah, wherever the Danglers play, there's some serious contenders. I always see them leave like a trail of destruction behind them.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's a wake. It's a Dangler wake behind them.
yeah. They were a challenge from day one. We were looking out for them and Assassins. We figured one of those two we'd probably be seeing if we made it to the finals. So both of those wins felt great. Absolutely.
It's a great game to cast, actually. I mean, Faye, my wife, who was decent enough to cast the finals for us, it actually makes for a pretty good spectator sport, I think.
Oh, Faye is your wife?
That was my wife. Yeah, that's Faye. Phoenix.
Damn, I had no idea. You guys are one hell of a VR power couple, huh?
She actually handles. She's the real captain of the team, as far as I'm concerned. She handles all of our organization and everything.
She is Queen Bee.
Oh, so Fane is the true power behind the Leftovers. It's just like they always say: behind every good man is an even better woman.
Rolling her eyes. Yes.
Rolling her eyes. Yeah, no, you were saying that casting contractors was a lot of fun. I've honestly been looking forward to that quite a lot lately. I've been talking to Nightfire and some of the V Respawn crew, as well as some of the other people in the contractors Discord about it, and it seems like there's actually quite a lot of people excited to cast contractors, and it seems to be really a booming little scene.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Okay. Yeah, I was really glad when they finally pushed out the spectator mode for contractors. I mean, they haven't. It's not the easiest thing in the world to use at the moment. I'm hoping that they'll develop it further, but anything is better than nothing for sure at this point. I mean, we need to be able to spectate in VR esports, otherwise it's not going to be a spectator sport at all. So I'm really glad they actually pushed something out. Yeah.
We actually thought that it was going to be casted too, which was so awesome when Faye stepped up and she did a terrific job. So we're kind of hoping other people see that cast and see that it's a viable, option, and hopefully more people jump on board and we can start getting all the matches casted and everything.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm just glad that it will allow for further variation. As you said, I mean, Onward has been top dog definitely in terms of the spectator VR sports so far, and it's just glad to have another contender on the scene, I think. And I think for the spectators, for the viewers, it would be nice to have some variety as well. I think Onwards is great, but variety is even greater. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the respawns and the size of the maps for contractors, it's more enjoyable for me to watch personally, even when I'm not playing it, just because of how much action there is in different parts of the map. You can't really afford with the control points to hide corners or take your time too much. So you're either dying or killing pretty much at some point in that match. So there's a lot of action to be captured, a lot of points of view to see and everything. So I'm excited for it to pick up.
I just really hope it does pick up. It seems like it's been on quite a decline for a while. I'm pretty sure y'all have seen it happening too, right?
Yeah, agreed. I saw it happening. I guess I was one of the few that I mean, during the EU times, it didn't seem so bad. I can't say the same for the NA times, but
easy low sometimes. It really seems that this is an EU primary game above all
seems
else.
Seems to. I think ever since the sales, this seems to be the general pattern as well that I've been seeing, that, as you said, the big pop, and then it peters out, and then the sale comes along, and then the population gets boosted for a little while, and then you see the same pattern rolling. I'm mainly hoping that above sales, contractors are going to be able to push out developments. They're going to be able to push out updates, keep the game fresh, keep it moving, keep the population interested, because without that, it will, like any game would really, just eventually just bury.
I have noticed too, there was a period of time there where when there was a full match, it wouldn't show the matches that were there. So people would log on, try to get into matchmaking and whatnot, and they would think that there was absolutely no games. It was just there was 4 or 5 games that were full, and you just couldn't see them on the matchmaking. And I think the devs have pretty much solved that. Of course, most people are playing the custom games now, but I haven't. Of course, I guess I kind of log on weird times too with my job, but I haven't really had too much trouble. There's normally a game open now versus, I don't know, maybe I'd say April, somewhere around like March or April. It kind of seemed to stagnate and then really picked up during the summer. And I think a lot of that was the changes they made to the custom games, letting you set up your servers, your maps and everything, and then showing the full servers showed people that there actually is people playing, even if there's not if it's full lobbies or whatnot.
Yeah, that's a really similar issue to what's going on in Space Junkies, since the game has a really unique lobby system and no server browser, so you have no idea if anyone's in a game, and so everyone feels like the game is super dead.
Yeah, which unfortunately sort of feels like it is at the moment. Space Junkies,
it's so freaking
which
sad.
is a shame.
Space Junkies is one of my favorite games.
It really is.
But it really feels sort of like a limping dog at this point.
It is. It sort of feels like it's on its last leg, much to my dismay as well. Like, it doesn't need to be. That's the most tragic thing, to be honest.
It just really sucks. Ubisoft tends to have this habit of just pulling the plug way too early. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Feels like that. Just the life support out the wall. Literally.
Just like what they did to Star Trek Bridge Crew, right?
Oh, I never played that. That was one of those that I wish I had, actually. Never tried that game.
Honestly, I didn't play it either. That was way before my time.
I bought it and then never had anybody to play it with, so...
But yeah, no, that's precisely the problem with Space Junkies. People kept on buying it at reasonably high price, and then when they got on, there's nobody to play it with, and so they ended up just not playing it and generally regretting the
Again,
that's my...
I think it was... again, don't quote me on this, even though this is an interview. From my understanding, it was a problem surrounding the spectator as well. I mean, what we were saying about the importance of spectator and how that sort of grips the interest and makes a game sort of competitive and fun to watch. And the spectator was it wasn't sort of released for everybody to use. It was very isolated to VR Challenger and ESL, and they had sort of their sort of inner circle way of handling spectator. Whereas I think if they just sort of gave that ability to everybody to run spectator mode, they would have, and there would be a lot more eyes on the game, and there would be a lot more popularity, and it would just roll on from there. But
I do think that is something that kind of makes or breaks VR games, especially. I mean, you play Contractors, majority of people in your game are streaming the game, even if they're not big streamers, even if they're just streaming their video perspective. I think that helped garnish Pavlov a lot of attention, to be honest. I never really thought much of it until I started seeing a couple people's streams and really what the game could do. So hopefully, and spectator mode's huge. And that's what we're hoping so much, that if we can't get other people to cast it, I'm sure somebody will step up like Faye did. Maybe she'll get more involved or something. But I really think the streams with that kind of spectating garnishes a lot of attention for a game. Hopefully picks up momentum. Dee could probably talk a lot more about the Pavlov days than I could, because he was actually in the competitions and everything. But I think that started off pretty slow too. And you were right. There's kind of this precipice where it either is going to make or break it. Either the game's going to start losing everybody, or they'll jump that hurdle and the population will pick up. So hopefully people from Pavlov and onward will start seeing these competitions and everything and start coming over to Contractors and pick up the player base a bit.
I really do hope that's the point, but I think that Pavlov players might have a little bit of an issue translating their personal solo skills from Pavlov over to Contractors, which is so much more of a tactical game. As whenever I get into Pavlov, all I see is a million different MC Town TTT matches, and that doesn't really match up to a competitive format like Contractors, you know?
While I love it, it seems like the workshop format almost changed Pavlov inherently.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, Pavlov, the workshop, I think, is really what bolstered Pavlov's popularity a lot. And as a result, it sort of ended up being played as it wasn't intended to be played, so to speak. So the popularity came from like alternate game modes developed by the community rather than the original game mode, which was search and destroy, so to speak, that was supposed to be played competitively. And then it sort of feels sort of like the VR chat of shooters at the moment, all that. The TTS and stuff like that, which is perhaps not such a bad thing. It's just probably not my cup of tea, if you know what I mean.
I think the real difference between Contractors and Pavlov is the fact that Pavlov is only $10. It makes it so the community is a lot larger.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Generally, honestly, a bit younger.
Yeah, that's a huge thing as well. I think a lot of the Pavlov thing too is all those game modes. While it can be hard for somebody like us to find a search and destroy that you want to, get a little bit more competitive in. And the same token, Contractors does have a pretty big skill gap to overcome. Sometimes when you jump into the control, you never know if a team's going to be practicing. It can be pretty brutal for somebody starting out. But they've picked up. There's normally always a game of team deathmatch now, which is really good for practice and for new players to get in before they dive into the strategies of trying to go around the map and capture the controls.
Yeah,
and all
I really
that
hate
stuff.
to be that guy, but I miss the classic days of Arena FPS, even though I was barely around for it because I'm so young. It's really the respawns, man. The respawn affects the way the entire game flows. It's why Onward is slightly slower than Contractors, why Contractors is slightly slower than Pavlov, so on and so forth. It's really
Yes,
about that
exactly.
respawn time.
Yeah, I agree. And just the whole respawn thing. I mean, Contractors they have their extraction mode, don't they? They had their attempt at a one life competitive mode.
I actually stopped playing Contractors about the same time Extraction was released. Have you ever tried playing it?
Tried it, yeah. Give it a go.
So what are your thoughts on it as a competitor? Do you think it's the future competitive format for Contractors?
I think it is a valid competitive format. They just need to work on it a bit. Plus, I think most of the my biggest gripe about it, my main turn-off, is that there's so much waiting time, like unnecessary waiting time. I'm talking about the sort of the timer that ticks down between rounds. It's like 15 seconds. You're just waiting for the next round to start when it could just snap you in there. You see, there's like no point to wait 15 seconds. So if they got rid of that and just made the rounds sort of roll faster, I'd actually be quite interested. But
It takes a long time to get through a match, especially with skilled people on each side. I don't know. It just feels like you're spending more time sitting around in game and out of game than something like Control. I think a lot of people. I mean, we have a lot of teams from Onward. I think, and a couple that came over from Pavlov. So they're kind of Extraction could be viable. And I think the devs are aware of it and they're trying to upgrade it a little bit. I think a lot of those teams would go over to one of those other games. One of the draw of Contractors is that constant action and the respawn and the strategies of, you don't have one life, but every life does matter and every point matters. And just that rapid action that control mode gives you, I think drew a lot of people in. It drew me in, especially.
absolutely, it certainly Extraction should never replace Control in terms of competitive scene. I think the respawn is just as viable for competitiveness. Definitely, we need both. We need the slow pace and the fast. I feel.
Joining TL was actually from online. Was from Wardust, I believe. This jerk kept flying in on a parachute and shooting me in the face. So I made it my mission to go attack him every time, and that ended up being I'm gonna pronounce his name wrong. I always just call him Sushi. What is it, Majut Sushi?
Correct. Well done. Have a cookie.
But so he invited me to the Discord, and I got to know everybody, and that's we've met up and everything. We play games all the time, and so I mean you can meet them online. You definitely have to be more engaged, and I just got lucky to find this group of people, really. But
Yeah.
Ooh,
So
lucky to get you.
You met the rest of the leftovers through Sushi.
yeah,
Or-
yeah, he was the first one, and then I think Dis was the other one. He jumped in on Wardust every now and then just through talking on the Discord and everything. And then once Contractors came out, I guess I really started getting to know everybody else. That's when the team started forming for Contractors and everything, and it just kind of went from there.
Yeah, so that's how Team Leftovers formed. Y'all just sort of all came together, and you're just like, man, we should have a Contractors team.
Well,
I mean,
I was gonna say D could tell you more about the Leftovers in general. The Contractors team kind of formed out of what was already there, but I'll let you take that one, D.
Yeah.
the Leftovers. I don't know how old the Leftovers is really. I mean, it's
2007, May 28th.
oh good lord, Faye knows exactly when. She just shouted.
Thank you, Faye.
2007? Did you say? Jesus, I was going 2017 May apparently. Sorry. What? 28th of May 2017. So I mean that was when it started with Pavlov as well, and that was Pavlov didn't have any textures on their maps. It was just gray blocks everywhere.
That's great.
And it was Sushi. The first people I met as well were Magic Sushi and Disratory. And Disratory running around like a madman with his knives as usual. Sushi trying to pop the heads all over the place. And yeah, they just pulled me into Leftovers. Been there ever since. Glad I did as well. Just great bunch of people.
That's super cool. So I actually noticed when I was doing some looking around that there are several different Leftovers teams. There's the Leftovers, there's the Frozen Leftovers. What's all that about?
It's just, I suppose, because of the team size limitation. Plus, because we're a growing community, we have people who are interested in starting their own team as well, and so we just develop sister and brother teams, suppose.
Just extend the branding a little bit, you know?
Yeah,
Sure, yeah.
they're definitely their own teams. We they have their own captains and their own imagined strategies and everything, but we'll get scrims together with them and kind of give each other pointers and I don't know, kind of help them with the organization. But past that is I don't know how many people we have in the Discord now, but large community of people, and a lot of them want to get engaged in different ways, and we just didn't have room on our team. And some of them were like, well, hey, would you mind if we started another one through the Discord or whatever? And I guess it just kind of took off from there.
Huh.
Yeah. In fact, I think Disratory captained the Pavlov team that actually took home the VRML World Championships the first season as well. So,
yeah, he had a lot to do with our success this season too. I was actually, for the regular season, was out for 2 or 3 months, and he really took over that role also as captain, organizing everything and getting everybody playing together and practicing. So he's been a huge. I didn't know him until I joined TL, but he's been a pretty big factor throughout all the teams that we've had.
Definitely.
Big old kingpin. That's
Yeah.
how'd the name Leftovers roll around anyways?
I wasn't there for that meeting. The first logo was a big old chicken drumstick with a bullet flying through it, and I don't know why.
I love that though. That's great.
You can't quote me on this too much, but I think I remember Dis telling me that essentially a lot of people were getting together in Pavlov to form teams, and a couple people were left out of those teams that were forming up, and I guess they kind of felt like they were the leftover people from those teams, and
So
kind of went from there, and they
just
ended up
the Leftovers.
Yeah, and they ended up going on to take a championship, and ended up being a great name. Just kept it, I think. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm sorry, Dis, if I didn't. But.
It sounds about right. Yeah, I think so.
Now he'll just watch this footage and be fuming in the back.
Yeah.
I swear. We've been on a team for how long? Nah. So, other than Contractors, what do you guys like to play? What's your favorite VR games? Both competitive and non-competitive, of course.
It was Space Junkies from ESO. Yeah, I still enjoy it. I fear any game that is breathing its last breath, so to speak. It ruins it a bit for me as well, just the whole experience, which doesn't make it any better. I'm pretty sure other people are feeling that too, which
It's
is
just
probably why it's
depressing.
dying. Exactly. Space Junkies, I loved, and it was a great competitive game. But apart from that, I'm really looking forward to No Man's Sky. I think a lot of people are.
No Man's Sky VR.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. I hope it's gonna be good. I hope they're not gonna bugger it up.
I hate to be that guy, but I just got so burned by the original No Man's Sky that I'm almost unwilling to buy it again.
Yeah,
I didn't fall for that trap. I was lucky. I waited for a friend to get it and managed to avoid all of those beginning days things. So I'm going into it fresh. I'm hoping.
Actually, allow me to rephrase that. Buy it again is the wrong way to say that. I
Get back
pirated
into
it, did not like it, deleted it from my hard drive, and then never tried again.
Yeah.
And
It started out rough.
I know that sounds harsh, but
Oh.
I don't know, man.
I think they're willing to admit it at this point. I think the company even came out and admitted
Yeah.
where they were
Hello,
wrong
we're
at the
just
beginning
like,
and everything.
Yeah, this game was bad. We're sorry for releasing it. We're gonna fix it.
Yeah.
Promise.
Other games for me in VR, I don't know. I've really bounced around a lot. I got into Skyrim for a little bit. Was beautiful once you modded it, past the 2005 graphics or whenever Skyrim actually came out.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know, a bunch of community games. Did Gorn. Tales of Glory is a great one, or I really enjoyed that one.
I've never played Tales of Glory. What's that about?
It's a medieval combat game. It's a single player, where you kind of have an army, and it depends on what your computer can handle. But you'll have like 100 troops that you're in control of, and you can manipulate them into like phalanx and cavalrymen and shield bearers, all kinds of stuff. And you put it on the hard mode, you're just kind of a random guy in the middle of this, or trying to attack castles and whatnot. But it was a fantastic medieval combat game. It's really, I guess the best way to describe it would be like Mountain Blade in VR.
That sounds sick. What he was going I'm so down.
Really fun game, so people should definitely check it out. The guy's very active. The developer's very active in the community and everything too, and in the Discord, listening to suggestions and everything. But past that, I was always such a shooter guy. I just bounced around a lot of the shooters. Unfortunately, I think I kind of picked all the ones that collapsed, like BAM and a couple of other ones. I got really into BAM. Was really sad when that one went downhill.
Me too. We must have missed each other though, because I was like right there when it was out in the early days. Well,
that was before I really talked to anybody in VR. I was just there to shoot people.
Yeah, right.
And then I did War Dust for a little bit, and then when Contractors came out, it was just the gunplay, the way that it felt, the graphics, everything, just kind of. I haven't really strayed from that since. It just felt so good that, that's pretty much what I play if I'm logging on at this point.
I keep on, like I said earlier, I play an awful lot of Pavlov, but that's mostly because the community is actually active, and there's always people online doing something at least. That's what hit me with Space Junkies, and why I stopped playing Space Junkies in the first place, is because there's never anybody online. It's been 15 minutes in lobby.
Yeah, it's a constant struggle of every VR game, it seems like.
Right. Well, that's why V-Respawn exists. That's why we're around, is because we're just trying to make people more aware. That's the real challenge of VR. Is to get more people in headsets.
Absolutely. Mainstreaming. It's perfect. Yeah, like that's also one of the reasons why I tend to rely on sort of single player games like Beat Saber, because I can just jump on and play that, and it's easy to stream and stuff like that. One of the main reasons I play it so much is because people seem to enjoy watching that more, it seems. So I do a lot of Beat Saber, but my heart is where the guns are. You know what I mean? I like the pew pews, definitely, and we need more of those for sure. I'm looking forward to Pistol Whip. Pistol Whip looks like it's going to be promising. Is Tack stuck? His face is very...
Oh, he's gone. Oh, no. That's okay. We'll bring him back.
All right.
I'm sure he can find his way back here.
He's probably still got the link.
Yeah, he's got the link. He's still technically in the call. He just needs to bring himself back to it. That's okay. It's just the two of us.
Okay, no worries.
But, yeah, I guess so. Since he's gone, a little more personal questions. When did you get your first VR set, D?
I got, here he comes.
He's back.
There we go. Got back. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
Cool, man.
It's what I always joke about VR interviews and our media in general is that it's super funny that we work with such high-tech things, and yet our production quality is always kind of middling.
Oh, yeah. That one was my internet connection there. I've been struggling with that, trying to figure that out the past couple weeks here.
Right. Nah, just call it the internet company and be like, hey guys, I'm real important. Give me more internet.
That's all it takes.
Send it to me in the mail. I need...
Do you know who I am?
Oh yeah, that's a classic. I love the whole "Do you know who I am?" You'd be shocked how easy that is to pull certain places, because I don't even look like anybody, and I've done that to people. But on a different note, what if you guys were a virtual reality game developer? What do you think would be the perfect VR game? What do you think is what VR truly needs?
MMOs. Needs an MMO. I know it already has one, Tech. I know it already does, but I need a very immersive, graphically centric MMO.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that a good bit on our Discord. I got into Orbis a little bit, but it does. I mean, they did a great job with the team that they had, but
They did, definitely.
a big MMO would be great, but the funding it would require and all the years that it would take to really.
Nope.
I agree
I agree.
with Tack.
Yes.
Oh, God.
The kind of funding a good MMO would need is definitely a nightmare.
Yeah, oh god, yeah. I have sort of submitted to exactly what Tack is saying, that the only MMO that we're probably going to be seeing for years is Orbis.
Clear?
Oh, is he back? He's back. Hallelujah.
All right, sorry about this, guys. This might keep
It's all
happening. I can't guarantee it.
It's all right, buddy.
We can wrap this up in just a little while. It's no worries.
But yeah, an MMO would be great, and then Contractors is really a fun shooter. But I hope companies keep trying to up the game constantly. Hopefully, they take what's worked for each one. If they could take what's worked for Pavlov, Onward, and Contractors, and just keep building from those games, keep making them better and better, learning from each thing that's come out, what's worked, what hasn't worked, the games that have failed, and why. Just about anything's viable, but I'm kind of biased. I'm into the shooters, so I'm constantly looking for the next great shooter that's coming out, and then an MMO for the community aspect. Just because the VR community might not be big, but it's really tight knit.
Yeah.
With the Discords and everything, I don't know. You kind of feel like you are a niche group, I guess. So you kind of have to get close to the small group of people in there and keep informed of what's going on, hang out in different games and stuff.
Agreed.
That's what I think is one of the best parts about being a reporter in VR, is because honestly, if I were to report on any other series of games, if I were to start doing League of Legends work or anything like that, there'd be a lot of different names. But since we're in VR, there's I don't know, 70, 75 actual competitive players between all the games. And
Yeah, sounds about right.
the names are all the same.
You do run into them. I think Zolly just joined the Assassins. I remember him from Wardust. I ran into him all the time in Wardust. I knew to look out for him I think he was sniping a lot on that game.
Yeah.
You definitely recognize the players that are competing at a bit of a higher level, and you start seeing their names. You start to learn all of them and really getting to know them, because most of them are all active in Discords and everything. So you kind of strike up good friendships / rivalries among everybody in it.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm already a pretty new VR user, and I've made both pretty good friends and some pretty nasty rivals in the few games that I do play.
Yeah.
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 Especially, yeah.
So I was gonna say, I think we might have gotten a couple too. Then that last championship, we had a couple of differences of opinion. But at the end of the day, we all respect each other, and those were great guys that we were playing too. But
Absolutely.
there's a couple of hiccups there.
100%. Yeah.
The competitiveness nature of competing like that.
It's bound to crop up with the sports.
I'd imagine it was rule technicalities and things like that, of course, as usual.
Yeah. And high blood pressures, of course. But,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
No, I feel like there should be blood pressure medication passed out with every VR set. Everyone
Oh,
needs to
yeah.
hang out a little bit, just chill. That's why I've joked for a while that there should almost be like a competitive powwow where we all meet in VR chat in some extremely calming world and just hang out.
Just serene ourselves
It's like,
as
all
much
right,
as we can
everybody,
before the next.
breathe in.
Oh yeah.
Now breathe out.
I'm pretty sure Tack might catch fire the moment that he steps into VR chat, though.
Yeah. The second people start blaring those meme screams, I'm out.
God, no,
I can't do
no.
that part.
Not the eye/ear rape avatars. That stuff's awful.
Yeah.
Actually, I was going to mention that earlier. You mentioned that you find it easier to stream Beat Saber all the time since it's a single-player game. I've been contemplating streaming Beat Saber because it seems like it's the second most popular VR game for people to watch, right behind VR chat. Which is sad but true.
Yes, indeed. Agreed. Sad
So
but true.
Why do you think it is that games like Beat Saber and VR chat, which themselves have... I don't want to disparage Beat Saber, or else I'm going to have the entire community at my door. But strategically, Beat Saber is not a heavy game. You know, like it's a reflex game, and there's a certain amount of skill to it. Definitely. Yes. I can't play Expert Plus, but why do you think it is that games that seem to have less depth to them are more popular with flat gamer communities? You know, it seems like a lot of the people who watch VR Chat and Beat Saber aren't even VR users. The numbers are too large.
Absolutely. No, I totally get that, and I know exactly what you mean. And I suppose that would probably touch on a previous point, that the point that we've sort of been trying to hammer in. Like, Beat Saber, I think, is visually appealing to watch because there are, the technology that Live provides is there that makes it very spectator friendly. Yet again, if you know what I mean. Just like VR Chat actually has its sort of, full body tracked avatars and stuff, which makes it very visual appealing and very sort of relatable, and it's very entertaining stuff. That just all of these facets that make it, that sort of create a sort of a platform for the audience to sort of rest on and enjoy what they're seeing, if you see what I mean. I mean, thank God for Live, which came out with their technology, which actually is compatible with the Contractors. They're going to have to try that out, I think.
I heard about that. I remember when they first released the compatibility, and I tried it, and it was so broke.
Yeah, at the beginning it was totally unusable. Just so juddery, and just everything was just impossible to use.
But now,
Contractors.
If it actually works now, then that'd be good to catch footage with.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That alongside Spectator and just the whole combination of perspectives would work.
I do think the whole idea of it projecting you into the game, you know, where you have the sabers in your hand, you're standing there. I feel like the streamers might think that it's just more engaging. They feel more engaged in the chat because they're seeing you instead of in like a small square in the screen.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they're just watching you play a game. They feel like they're there with you.
Yeah.
Engaged with you and watching you do it.
I find the real issue about VR game spectatorship is that there's no real way to make VR games feel right on a flat screen if you just give them the eye view, no matter what. It just doesn't look right. You will never be able to get the same feeling of embodiment, ever.
Yep.
And so, here's a point that I always bring up. Are you guys aware of a game called Battlerite? Normal, complete, flat game.
No.
Okay, so Battlerite was a MOBA-esque game that was based off of a game called Bloodline Champions from many years ago. And the whole point of it was, rather than like a 40-minute long Liga match or something like that, it's 3 rounds of maybe a minute of just straight up arena fighting. Your character comes out the door full power, and you guys just go at each other. It's League of Legends, but only team fights is the best way to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what was really cool is 2 years after Battlerite came out, they came out with these videos of this experimental technology that they were trying to mess with before the game died, of course. Battlerite is incredibly dead nowadays, and nobody plays it. But there's an experimental camera mode that they were trying to do in which a VR user could record the game from within the game. So, like, they had, like, your controller was the camera, and you could, like, do actual camera work with it. You know?
Gotcha.
And so I think if we were to have tools like that in current VR games, where people could like actually do floating camera work and like move cameras around and get like a little bit of screen shake for extra effect, things like that, I think that would really add the spectatorship, wouldn't it?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm always amazed that they don't just add. I know it would probably be more resource hungry and all that, but why they don't add just a third person perspective spectator camera? I mean, that would be easy enough. You know, over the shoulder sort of stuff. Yeah. But I'm also always amazed that they don't have any sort of FOV smoothing on first-person cameras. They did it well in Beat Saber.
They did it so well in Beat Saber.
Yeah, I sort of feel that they really need to take it to the next level. I saw somebody do a Minecraft video where it was the POV, first-person perspective, but there was no head angle tilt ever. So even if he would shake it around, but it would basically just look like it was, you know, the very traditional flat screen sort of mouse movements.
Yeah.
Sort of up, down, left, right. None of this sort of head judder angling to the right or to the left.
Flat gamers sick.
Yeah. Which is what I think turns a lot of people off trying to watch first person VR stuff. Just all of that unnecessary head movement that doesn't really translate to a monitor, if you know what I mean.
Or even do a good experience, honestly.
Generally, yeah.
That's the real issue, is that there are all these natural head movements that people make that just aren't good camera work, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
We need to hunt that guy down. Whoever that Minecraft guy is,
Yeah.
we need to find him.
Agreed. He needs to pitch that message to everybody.
Right?
But that is, I don't know. You'd have to get Faye's opinion of it, but she did a really good job sometimes of keeping that third person perspective and kind of zooming around in front of the people, trying to catch different angles and everything.
Excellent camera work during the finals. Like, I watched the entire video earlier today.
Yeah, I haven't actually tried it myself to cast a match, but it doesn't seem like the controls are that easy. So she definitely did a terrific job of of toughing through that. But like I said, you'd have to ask her about it. But yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, crash course of trying to get contractors. Yeah, all the key bindings, because they've also kept key bindings somewhat secret as well. I had to sort of research what the key bindings were.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, not. I mean, I don't mean that literally. I mean, the key bindings, they just sort of, I think, wrote on the forums somewhere. It's not sort of paired with the spectator mode as it should be.
No,
you can't change any of it.
Update or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right, so to wrap this up, I always go with this final question. If you had anything that you could say to anybody who is interested in getting into VR esports like y'all are, what do you think would be the first major step, and why should people join VR esports?
Oh, thanks for the point. For me, the first step I would have to say would be, you have to be active on Discord. And VR is such a small community and everything, and getting on to finding a game you're interested in and getting involved in the Discord, just talking with people in the Discord, is definitely the first big step. Most people in VR, I can't say all of them, but most of them are very open to helping people out with games and everything, and welcoming them into their Discords. And everybody's looking to join teams. Why I would say they should, if you've ever really been interested in competing in a game, period, I would say it's just the community, how tight-knit it is and everything. You're not logging into Call of Duty with thousands upon thousands of other people that you might never see again, match or in the ranked games or anything. These are people that, even the people that you start becoming rivals with, you're going to start seeing them. You're going to start seeing them in other games and everything, and it makes for a closer experience to me. You don't feel like just a random, needle in a haystack that you just get drowned out or anything. You start to have a presence and really get to know the community.
Huh.
Yeah.
You feel the same way, D?
I think one thing I tend to notice is that people almost sort of try and prioritize getting onto a team first before actually sort of playing with people and seeing whether they work together or not. Or that's almost as though they're sort of clambering to the people who do actually want to get involved in esports. They sort of clamber to get on a team first and then learn how to play with those particular people afterwards. Whereas I sort of feel like it should be literally the other way around. Keep yourself available and just sort of like be involved with the esporting community first, and just see which team one sort of falls into, rather than, because that's pretty much the only way that it's going to be an enjoyable experience. First of all, I feel, and it's probably going to bring you to your best potential as an esport player, because you're going to find the right match doing it that way around. I feel, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
I really like that statement. That's definitely a good way to feel about it. Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on this interview. We'll make sure to feature you on our Friday show. Once again,
thank you.
This was the Leftovers, the recent winners of the Summer Championships, the beautiful men who constantly shoot people in the head and give us the content that we truly want from VR. We can't ask anyone. So
thank you for having us.
much.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.